Hi, my name is sudhakar and I will be talking about Portugal. Portugal is located in the continent of Europe, which covers 91,470 square kilometers of land and 620 square kilometers of water, making it the 111th largest nation in the world with total area of 92,090 square kilometers. Portugal was founded as a distinct and original nation in 1139. Portuguese Empire was the earliest and longest lived of modern European colonial empires. It spanned almost 6 centuries from the capture of Ceuta in 1415 to Macau's return to China in 1999. The image of world map during ancient times can be viewed. Infant Henrique of Portugal, the Duke of Viseu, was born in Porto, Portugal in 1394. Although he was neither a sailor nor a navigator, he sponsored a great deal of exploration along the west coast of Africa. He was famously known as Henry the Navigator. Vasco da Gama was a Portuguese explorer and navigator and the person to sail directly from Europe to India. The images of Vasco da Gama during his sail and the statues of Henry the Navigator can be seen. Talking about the history of Portugal, during the Liberian Reconquista, the Portuguese county was the first part of the Kingdom of Galiza, then it was integrated in the Kingdom of Leon. Portugal reclaims the title the oldest European state nation. 14th and 15th century, the Portuguese were pioneers in exploration, establishing the first colonial empire in global scale. In 1580, after the succession crisis, Portugal was united to Spain. That period was called the Liberian Union. It would last until 1640. Afonso I was the first king of Portugal, was born in Portugal and died on 6 December 1185 in Coimbra. He was the one who conquered Santarém and Lisbon from the Muslim in 1147 and secured Portuguese independence from Leon in 1139. The Treaty of Tordesillas was signed at Tordesillas on June 7, 1494 and authenticated at Setúbal, Portugal. This was one of the famous treaties signed at Tordesillas in Portugal. The capital of Portugal is Lisbon and it has a population of 10.46 million. Portugal people talk Portuguese language and it was become the member of European in January 1st, 1986. Talking about the capital city Lisbon, Lisbon is recognized as a global city because of its importance in finance, commerce, media, entertainment, arts, international trade, education, and tourism. It is one of the major economic centers on the continent with growing financial sector and one of the largest container ports on Europe Atlantic coast. It also ranks as the 10th highest GDP of metropolitan areas in the Europe. Here's the scenic beauty of Lisbon city. Portuguese official language of Portugal is spoken in Portugal, Brazil, Cape Verde, Angola, Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique, Principe, Sao Tome and Equatorial Guinea. Portuguese is also spoken in Goa, which is in India, Macau, China, East Timor. In 1755, All Saints' Day, Lisbon was struck by a magnitude earthquake, one of the most powerful in European history, killing 275,000 people. A clear image of Portugal map for a better view can be viewed here. Talking about natural resources, Portugal's main natural resources include fish, forests, iron ore, copper, zinc, tin, tungsten, silver, gold, uranium, marble, clay, gypsum, salt, arable land, and hydropower. Most imports come from the European Union countries of Spain, Germany, France, Italy, and the United Kingdom. while most exports also involve other European member states. The other Portuguese currency is the euro, and the country has been a part of Eurozone since its inception. Farming. Farming in Portugal is fun. Portugal has a large number of crops: mushrooms, sunflowers, olives, tomatoes, wine, table grapes, vegetable leaves, dairy, tomatoes, and Portugal is even famous for cheese. Some of them are Castelo Branco cheese, Santarém cheese, and Serra da Estrela cheese. Portugal is one of the fourth largest tomato product producers at Alentejo. Here we can view the cultivation of tomato. Fishing is a major economic activity in Portugal as they export a lot of fishes to other European countries, and Portugal has a long tradition in fishing sector. Portugal is one of the countries in the world with highest fish consumption per capita. Roman ruins of fish processing facilities were found across the Portuguese coast. Fish has been an important at least since the Portuguese age of discovery. We can view some of the images of fishing in Portugal. Wind energy in Portugal is very famous. Since the late 90s, when the wind power was virtually non existent in Portugal, the country has become the sixth producer of this kind of renewable energy. Along with the traditional hydroelectric energy, the Portuguese companies, including the biggest one in the country, EDP, and with the support of the government, heavily invested in new kinds of renewable energy from then on. The energy produced was increased year by year and it was renewable. Fossil fuels are still the source of 38.3% of the energy produced. Portugal joined the European Union on 1st January 1986. After this membership, things started changing around for Portugal, which was an important decision by the Portuguese. Talking about the economic aspects of the country, the Portuguese economy has been steady, expanding continuously since the third quarter of 2014, with the yearly GDP growth of 1.5% registered in the second quarter of 2015. And some of the GDP growth can be seen, which plays an important role for the Portuguese. The graph shows the production of mineral, fossil fuel, biomass, and metal in tons. Other graph shows the GDP growth, population, material intensity, and resource extraction. And then there was a major setback for the Portugal. Portugal economy has suffered a deep recession and rising unemployment. The outlook for 2013 is also grim, with government proposing more tax increases and spending cuts in effort to meet deficit reduction targets. The GDP growth from 2010 to 2012 are shown here. Statistics of Portugal's unemployment rate is shown in this graph as you can view it. With the rapid drop in real GDP and austerity measures, the Portuguese unemployment rate has increased at one of the fastest rates in Europe, which became a good thing for the Portuguese. Bad debts increased for the Portuguese. On joining the euro, the Portuguese national debt was below 60% limit set by the Maastricht criteria. By the start of the debt crisis in 2009, the level of public sector debt had edged up to 70% of the GDP. However, the recession of 2009 to 2012 has seen a rapid increase in the level of debt despite efforts to reduce public spending and austerity measures pursued by the government. Here, the national debt is shown in the graph. From January 2010, fears over the stability of Eurozone bonds spread to Portugal and bond yields rapidly rose to unsustainable levels. This caused government to pursue emergency austerity measures. The rising bond yields were due to fears over liquidity in Eurozone, fears over future economic growth, banks more suspect about holding any Eurozone debt. Austerity. The Portugal pursued austerity with great vigor between 2009 to 2011. The budget balance was reduced 7.9% of GDP. No devaluation to boost competitiveness of exports. Little loosening of monetary policy. In this economic situation, the deflationary fiscal policy had a very high negative multiplier effect, causing a drop in real GDP. The current account of Portugal is much better compared to the previous. In other European nations, meanwhile, the wages have increased by 25% and 35%. In 2008, the Portuguese current account deficit was over 12% of GDP. This was a reflection of this decline and competitiveness relative to the rest of the Eurozone. In Euro, the prices and costs increased in Portugal more than the Northern Euro economies. Here we can view the current account deflects in the graph. Here you can see the Portuguese labor cost and productivity in a graph. The economic overview of the Portugal is qualified for the European Monetary Union in 1998 and began circulating the euro on 1st January 2002 along with other 11 euro member economies. Economic growth had been above the European average for much past decade but fell back in 2001 to 2004. It's now one of the worst performing economies in Europe. The GDP per capita stands two-thirds that of the big four European economies. A poor educational system and a level of corruption in government has been obstacle to greater productivity and growth. Portugal has increasingly overshadowed by lower cost producers in Central Europe and Asia as target for foreign direct investment. Coalition government PhD CDS in short of a circus and president who is constantly tied to the corruption events in the past 2 decades, dangerously steering the country towards potential social unrest. The GDP real growth rate was minus 0.3%. The GDP per capita was $23,000. External debt 515 billion, inflation rate 1.4%, public debt 96%, labor force 6.1 million, unemployment 19%. Here you can see the investment gross fixed GDP is 21%. The exports made by the country is 47 billion, which is billion. The imports is 68.68 billion. Population below poverty time is 38%. The textiles and the footwear, wood pulp, paper and cork metals, metalworking, oil refining, chemicals, fish canning, rubber and plastic products, ceramics, electronics and communication equipment, rail transportation equipment, aerospace equipment, ship construction and wine tourism. These things were the major things produced and exported or imported from Portugal. And here are some the production done by the Portuguese country. Electricity is 44 billion kilowatt. Electric consumption is 48 billion. Oil production is 4,700 barrel per day. Import stands at 300 barrel per day. That was taken in 2001, and natural gas consumption is 4.8 billion cubic. The commodities imported are the machinery, transport equipment, chemicals, petroleum, textile, agriculture products. The import partners are Spain 29.3%, Germany, etc. And Portugal is very famous for football, as we know. And this is all about Portugal. Thank you.